G'day guys, how are you going? Well, I've had my GU Patrol since new, back in May of 2009. And over that time, it's changed somewhat. But let's go back to where it all started before I show you where it's at today. Check it out before I started adding any accessories. This is straight off the truck, out the back of the dealership, brand spanking new. Plastic still on the seats. It didn't stay in that standard format for long, that is for sure. Now, everything that I've done to this GU Patrol has been based around two key factors. One, it had to be simple and easy to use, and yep, I think I've probably achieved that over the time I've had it. And two, the second one, which is a big one, and that's around weight. All the accessories that I've put on it and taken a lot off it has all been based around weight, just to keep it as light as absolutely possible. So let's have a look around this mighty GU Patrol to where it's at today. Righto, so we'll start at the front here. Steel bull bar, yep, very handy for any maybe front end collisions or animal strikes and those sort of things when you get away on trips. So that's been great. I got a carbon winch on the front there. I don't use it a great deal, but it's really handy. I would certainly not have a vehicle, I don't think, if you can have one. I wouldn't have one without a winch on it. Just a very handy accessory to have for any maybe sticky situations you might get yourself in or one of your mates in. Always handy having a winch on the front. I only got the one antenna there now, that's just my UHF antenna. I used to have another one there for running so I could listen to radio and that sort of thing, but it actually snapped off, that big long whip aerial that I had. Snapped off, and I really haven't had the need to put another aerial back on it to listen to radio, because all my music, it's all online now and all downloaded on my phone, and I listen to all that sort of music when I go away on trips. And one big one which you'll notice, which not many four-wheel drives are like this, is no spotlights. Spotlights have all gone. This was all, again, part of my weight reduction, getting rid of some items off the four-wheel drive. No spotlights, and they were massive, big round spotlights they were just in there. Reduces a lot of airflow going into the front, into the engine there, and cooling that radiator down. But look, I just didn't have the need. Look, I'm not into going night driving. I just don't see the interest at all for me to go driving around the tracks of a night time. For me, sitting around at night time is far better off with a few mates and a few beers and a campfire, sitting around, and that's what I would probably much rather be doing than driving tracks at night. So that's pretty much the front, done and dusted. Pretty simple, eh? Let's go around the side. Righto, so tyres and suspension setup. Well, been using the Goodyear Wrangler Duratrax for a good number of years now. Very happy with those aggressive all-terrains. So yeah, been using those for a number of years. Got steel wheels there. I wouldn't mind probably replacing those at some stage, again, just to reduce a bit more weight out of it, and maybe put a nice set of alloy wheels on it would be nice. Got the aftermarket hubs here, the AVM hubs. Look, they've been great too. I've had no issue with those. They went on probably about, maybe 8-9 years ago, maybe a bit longer. Replaced those from the standard original Nissan hubs that were on it back then. So they've been great. And then under here, I've got the Dobinson suspension, fully adjustable on all four corners. That's been a great setup as well. And then there's a couple of things under here that I really can't show you because it's all in casings, but I've got front and rear air lockers, diff lockers in this GU Patrol. They're fantastic, front and rear lockers, just sensational, and how much easier and accessible places you can get into with diff locks, but you can also get yourself in a lot of trouble with them as well if you're not quite sure how to use them. So, but they have been great. And then another one which I've mentioned a few times on some of my videos is the 42% reduction gears that I have in my transfer case, and look, they're just next level, with going up. Going down steep hills, and certainly coming up steep hills in like first gear is just insane how low it is and how slow for that really controlled slow crawling. Yeah, the reduction gears have been fantastic. So that's pretty much what's going on down here. We'll move around the side and we'll check this out. Righto, and then around here, as you can see, no side steps. Had big steel heavy rock sliders on it there for a good number of years. Again, opt the word, heavy. So when I did the weight reduction, they came off. I've still got my original side steps, the alloy side steps, in my shed at home. Might put them on one day, but at the moment I like the look of it. But yeah, those big heavy rock sliders, gone. So that's pretty much all this side here. That's all there is. I can still get in and out of it pretty easy without the need for a side step of any sort. And yeah, I do like the look of it. So that's it, no side steps, which is great. Let's keep going around the back. Right, so around the back here, not a lot going on here either. Just got the one spare wheel now, which I did used to have two, which I've still got that at home. Got the swing away, which used to hang off the corner here. So I got that at home in case I might do maybe a Central Australia trip at some stage down the track where I might want to take two spare tyres. But at the moment, I only need the one. And again, that was all part of my weight reduction, was getting rid of another spare wheel that I really didn't need having on there. So that's gone. So yeah, just the one there. And then on the back here, got the rear bar, steel rear bar. This is from Kmart, and this is feeding, and this has saved me on one occasion. This is now the second rear bar that I've had installed on this GU Patrol from new. It's probably about 9, maybe 10 years ago. I was going away on a trip, meeting a bunch of mates up there in Mansfield, and I was sitting in the traffic lights just the other side of Ringwood there on the highway. And I was early that morning, and I'm sitting there waiting for the lights to turn red. Only one I was there on my own, just waiting for these lights to turn red. And I could see this car coming down the road behind me. And it's getting closer and closer, and I'm starting to watch this car and thinking, far out, he's not going to stop. And sure enough, he didn't. He went straight in the back, no brakes at all, just straight into the back of this. And I was expecting to jump out of my patrol here and find, the back of my car all caved in, but it wasn't. All I got was, which is not this bar or these lights, but all I got was one cracked tail light out of it, and the wing on that side had bent just around a little bit, and that was the only damage at all to my patrol from having this steel bar put on there. Now, the old taxi that went straight in there, he must have fallen asleep at the time, and he's gone straight in. It's destroyed the front of the taxi, unfortunately, but yeah, I drove mine away and continued on my trip. Met a bunch of mates here in Mansfield, and the taxi, well, it went on a truck and pretty much a write-off, I'd reckon, but yeah, it was totaled. But steel rear bars, again, there's a fair bit of weight involved in that, but hey, from what I've seen, how it's saved the back of this car just from that one rear end collision, I wouldn't take that off for quids. So that's all that's going on here. Oh, just one other thing too, I've got a reverse camera going on here, which really handy having that reverse camera, because there's just absolutely no visibility when you're looking out the back of this, and especially going to shopping centre car parks and that sort of thing. Even when there's no gear in there, visibility out the back's really hard. So having that reverse camera has been an absolute game changer for reversing in and out of tight spots. Fantastic. Righto, we'll go around the side here and let's check out this side. Righto, so around this side, again, pretty bare, pretty simple, just how I like it. All I've got up on this side is just my single straight pull-out awning, 2.5 metres by 2.5 metres. It is plenty of shade for and protection for what I need. But if I'm going to base camp up, for a few days, whatever, and stay in the one spot, I do have an extension sheet that I had made up by a motor trimmer down there in Melbourne, and that's another 3 metres that I can put in the sail track of this and extend that out, and then that gives me 2.5 metres from that, and then another 3 metres of my extension sheet. So anything up to 5 metres of extra coverage that I've got there if I'm going to base camp up for a few days. But again, all based around weight. Why I stick with that, I know a lot of you guys, you like these 270 wraparound awnings, and yeah, I get it. I can see all the extra protection and shade and that sort of thing that they give you. But again, for me, it's all based around weight. This weighs probably, I don't know, maybe 10 kilo, if that probably, where some of these wraparounds, they're sort of 20 plus. And yeah, so that's for me. I'll stick with that. It's fantastic and it works a treat, especially with that extension sheet on it. And then again under here, no side steps, no heavy rock sliders, all gone. Let's check out the next one. Okay, so around here under my bonnet, which I'm not going to pop the lid on it just yet because there's an absolutely massive milestone mileage coming up for my old ZD30. This year I reckon I'm probably a couple of months away on ticking it over. Big 400's just around the corner, so all going well. We still get there, but no reason why we shouldn't, because it's been fantastic, this engine, and it's still going strong. But we'll talk about that when I get to the big 400. Hopefully we end up making that video and showing it to you. But until then, we'll show you, talk about my roof rack, see what's going on with that. So around here, he's got my roof rack up on top there, lightweight aluminium. I think it weighs probably about 30 kilos, this roof rack. Used to have a steel one up there a few years ago, but got rid of that, again in weight reduction. So yeah, that one there, made by Wedgetail, all Australian made. Fantastic company down there in Bayswater. Got my shovel holder up there as well, which holds my shovel. I put my firewood and a few other bits and pieces up there at times. And yeah, so that's been great. I've got a couple of items inside the dash in here, which I'll show you a couple of items in there. I'm not going to go through anything in here or the back. I've got enough videos, which you know, you can go and have a look at those if you want to see what's happening with the fridges and then the changes I've made in the back of the vehicle there, back in Patrol. Check them out. So we'll jump inside and I'll show you a couple of gauges that I sort of help to monitor that mighty ZD30 and my batteries for running my fridges out the back here. Let's check them out. Righto, so here we are in the driver's seat, my mighty GU Patrol. Again, you know, nothing fancy, all pretty simple going on in here. So down the bottom here, as I mentioned before, you know, my front and rear diff locks. Well, this is where the switches are. Got the 3 rocker switches here, with the back one being the compressor, and then my rear locker there is the next one, and then the top switch is to engage my front locker if I ever need them. Up the top here, I've got a gauge there which gives me a voltage readout for my 2 batteries. So one for my start battery under the bonnet, and then for my lithium battery, which is buried in the back in here, which I've already made a video on that. So check that out if you want to know more about my lithium setup. But you know, while I'm driving along, I can at least see what's going on with both of those batteries, and then I can see, you know, make sure they're charging and being where they need to be. Over this side over here, I've got 2 gauges on the pillar pod over here. The bottom gauge is just my oil pressure for my mighty ZD30 under there, so I can see what's going on with that. And then the top gauge is my turbo boost pressure and my EGT, so my exhaust gas temperature pressure readout is in that top gauge. Really important gauges, I reckon, especially EGTs. Really important gauge too if you haven't got one. Well worth putting one of those in. What else we got going on? And then, you know, just my standard UHF radio there, 80 channel radio, pretty much 40 channel radios, not many of them get around anymore. 80 channels certainly the way to go. What else we got? Oh, and then the big one down here, this is an important one, is my switch down here for my, if I turn my accessories on, I've got a switch down here that I can even turn my pie oven on. Look at that, red light comes on, turn it on from the driver's seat. So when I'm at camp, I'm going to have a few pies for lunch, as I often do. I'll chuck them in the oven there before I leave camp, and then drive along, and then generally hit that switch there sort of about 10:30 or something, and then by 11:30, 12 o'clock, and pull over for lunch. They're nice and hot. Just got to go and do that. Look at that. Don't even have to get out of the driver's seat to turn my pie oven on. How good is that? So yeah, that's pretty much about in here. And also down in here, I've got a little speaker, external speaker for my UHF, and that's really handy because just so you can really hear what's going on. Because I think the speaker for this unit is way under the dash there somewhere, just a standard one, and I made it a bit hard. So I've got this external speaker, and that's really good for, you know, good clear communications when I'm driving along in some convoys, listening to a few mates talking some stories. So there you go. I think that pretty much covers it. Again, not much, pretty simple, just how I like it. We'll jump outside, we'll see what else we can find. You know, so many people they say to me, you know, that because I've had this GU Patrol for such a long time, that aren't I due for an upgrade? And I say, well, why would I want to sell it? You know, it's got one of the best suspension setups as far as four-wheel driving goes that you can fair income get. It's got coils all around. It's got solid axles front and rear, which is pretty much unheard of these days, particularly in new vehicles. Not many of them now are made with that particular suspension setup. Besides that, you know, it's set up for perfectly now for how I want to go with touring and camping, with all the changes I've made to that. So why would I want to sell it? Sell it? No chance. So there you go, guys. That's the walk around of my GU Patrol. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe given you a few ideas on what you can do. Simple, just how I like it. Good on you guys. Catch you next time. Hooroo.